Hey Crafty Mavens, it's Vanessa here with Art Party, and today we are going to play with a little bit of ink and some bubble wrap and create a background, and then I am going to create a layout. But I wanted to do this first part on sort of real time, and then we'll flip over and create the layout. So for this, I am using actually some watercolor paper just because it's a little bit thicker, and I've cut this down to about an 11 by 11. And then I have just some simple bubble wrap that you get packages in the mail. And so we are going to use this bubble wrap to create some texture on the back of our layout for the background, and then build a layout on top of that. This is something I've been wanting to play with for a while, and I really love the bubbles of bubble wrap and how it has such a fun texture that I thought it would be fun to use this to create some textured backgrounds. And I've already picked out my supplies, which I will show you when we go to the process video. But I do know that the colors that are sort of in the main pattern paper that I'm using are a little bit of a pinky, it's kind of like a distressed, this is the Tattered Rose Distress Oxide pink, so it's very light pink. And then I have the Evergreen Bough Distress Oxide, and I have Fossilized Amber Distress Oxide. And I think you could use any inks with this technique. You could definitely even use paints, anything like that. Whatever you have on hand, you definitely can do that with this technique. And I'm going to show you, I kind of played before turning the video on with a couple of different ways to do this. I'm going to do on camera the one that I liked, how it turned out the best. And then I'll show you a couple of just examples that I was kind of playing with. Now for me, one thing I have found is that I really like to do stripes of color when I'm doing mixed media. My layout from last month, which was just the stripes of color down the layout, you can definitely see that I tend to like just a straight wash of color. And so that is what I'm going to do here, only this time they are going to be stripes of color with the bubble wrap as the background. So I'm really simply just taking the ink pad and brushing it in strips along this bubble wrap. So you're going to see, it's really hard to see it on camera because obviously these colors are going on a clear bubble wrap, and they're not super dark either. So this is hard, a little bit harder to see, but you will see how it turns out once I actually go ahead and put it on the paper. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, because this is Distress Oxide, I actually want to just put a little bit of water on this bubble wrap. Not a ton. I'm using watercolor paper, so it will stand up to a little bit of water anyway. And then you could pick this up and actually put it on the paper that you're using, or you can do like I'm doing here, and this was the one that I preferred, and it was to take it and I'm just going to lay it down, and then I'm just going to press. And I liked the effect that this gave. Now this is not a perfect technique, so if you are a perfectionist, this may not be a technique that you want to try, just simply because it isn't going to be perfect. But I do love the fun texture that this gives to the background. And now I could definitely take this and put another piece of paper over our top, and again, get a less pigmented color on the background as well, to create additional backgrounds with just even one set of inking. So I like how this came out. I wanted it to be sort of, like I said, distressed looking. It's got some texture, it's got some interest in the background. I can choose to either put it horizontally or vertically, however I decide, but I've got now 3 stripes of color that I'm going to use on my layout. And because I only used a little bit of water, I got a little bit of sort of splotchiness with the ink because of the water that was on the paper. And because this is watercolor paper, it is going to take the water very well. And actually this is going to only take a minute or 2 to dry. But while it's drying, I will show you quickly the other examples that I played with. So this one was adding the stripes of color and then not adding any water at the beginning. I did put a little water on it at the end, but this was laying it down, picking the bubble wrap up and laying it down on the paper and then smushing it. And this was with no water. So we got very very straight bands of color and not a lot of distress to this. It was basically just the color going on the paper. So this is another option. So I have, again, another background that I can use later down the road to create a layout. Now this one was after I did the stamp like this, I put some additional water on the bubble wrap and again pressed another paper over top, and this is what you get. So it's again a lighter, and you could keep doing it until there was no ink on your bubble wrap and it would just get gradually lighter. So this one, that pink is very light, it's very hard to see, but then you still get the green and the yellow. And then the other one that I played with, and this one was when I was testing what colors I wanted to use, so this one's not completely my favorite, but I'm not going to throw it away because I might be able to cut some embellishments out of it down the road. But you could take multiple colors and do like a splotchy effect. Don't do the stripe across, but do a splotchy effect. And this one, again, I sprayed a little bit of water and put it down on top of the pattern paper rather than put the pattern paper on top of it. So a couple of different ideas that, like I said, once you've put the color on the bubble wrap, you can pick it up and put it on your paper, or you can put your paper on top. If you keep adding water to sort of reactivate the ink a little bit, especially with the distress oxides, you can continue to get multiple backgrounds out of one set of inking for your bubble wrap. So now I have a few different backgrounds that I can use for future projects, and this is the one we are going to use today, and I do really love how it turned out. Again, not perfect, but that was the whole point, was to just have some fun with some inks. That most people have some sort of ink in their stash, and so it's simple and easy technique. All you have to do is have some bubble wrap, which most of us typically have, put it on your paper and smush it down, and you'll get some fun sort of background texture for your layouts. So now I'm going to hop over and put the video on a little bit of a faster pace, and we are going to put a layout together using this background that we just created. So guys, I will catch you in a few minutes. Hey Crafty Mavens! Okay, now we have our background. It's all ready to go, and I am just going to show you here the few things that I pulled from my April stash kit. If you would like to see everything that is in my April stash kit, the link to my channel will be below in the description box, so you can jump over and see that kit. Basically, I am just showing you here, though, the bits and pieces that I thought I might use on this layout. And once I've gone through all of these, I will start by matting my photo on the pattern papers that I pulled. I will be mounting the background that we created on a piece of yellow cardstock because the background that we created was only 11 by 11. I definitely needed to matte it on something, and so I chose yellow to go with the colors that I was using for this layout. So the first thing I'm going to do here is just take this little pattern paper. You can't even really see it. It's got little hearts in the background, but you don't really see it. It really just reads more of as a white mat. but I ended up matting my photo with that, as well as this floral piece of pattern paper, which was really the inspiration for the colors that I chose to use on this layout. It has the yellows, the greens, and the pinks. So that sort of made what colors I was going to use. That was where I sort of took them from. I also toyed around here for a second with the idea of possibly putting some photo corners on this layout. I do not end up actually doing that, but at first I thought I might add those to this layout. That doily that you see me putting down here now, that will stay on the layout. However, the tag that you see will not, but I did sort of play around with it, thinking that it might go in that top cluster. Now, the next thing that you're going to see here is I have already decided my title, which is Fried Chicken and Doughnuts. And the reason for the title is that this is a restaurant in Disney Springs in Orlando. And one of their signature dishes on the menu is fried chicken and donuts. It is a restaurant called Homecoming, and it is Chef Art Smith, his restaurant there in Disney Springs. And it has become a favorite of our family. The first time we went was back in November, and everybody loved what they ordered from the menu, and it is definitely a place that we want to go back to. So I am documenting the meal that we had there. And here you see I'm just sort of showing you, kind of laying out where I think my 3 clusters for this layout is going to go. I am now going to go off camera quickly and fussy cut all these little elements that you see here that I plan to use on my page. And so that's nice. That's what's nice about those pattern papers that have sort of all those different elements on it. I oftentimes will just use those as a way to get extra embellishments. I just cut them apart and use them in this way on my layouts as opposed to just a pattern piece of paper. I am also pulling in stickers from Paige Evans' sticker book because most of my April kit was Paige Evans' whimsical collection. I thought it was a great way to use her sticker book as well because all the colors pretty much match all of her collections. And so you see here, I'm just going to start building each of the 3 clusters that are going to go on this layout. I have one that'll go there above the title, and then I have one that will go to the bottom right of the photo and one to the top right of the photo as well. Now, when I'm building my clusters, what I'm really aiming to do is have a good balance of items in each of my clusters, as well as textures. And ultimately, I'm also trying to balance the colors. So I'm trying to make sure that I have a good balance of the pink, the yellow, and the green represented in each of the clusters, and that I have some texture. So I have wood veneer in each of the clusters. I have, the butterflies in each of the clusters. I have some of those wooden buttons in each of the clusters. And so I'm basically trying to add interest with the different textures and balance the colors across the layout. And that really keeps it interesting. And when I go to glue this down, I will also put different elements up on pop dots. So again, to give that balance and to give a little bit of interest and not have it be so flat on the layout. But ultimately, I'm trying to balance the colors around getting a good representation of each of the 3 colors that I had pulled for this layout in each cluster. And so there you see how pretty much the majority of the clusters are going to look. I'm going to go off camera and I am going to glue each of these down. I do add to my title here a little exclamation mark because I did add that word phrase that says yes please, because yes please to fried chicken and donuts anytime at this restaurant. It is delicious. If you ever can go and have it, I highly recommend it. So there you see I have gone ahead and glued everything down. Now, as a finishing touch, I am going to add a few of these Chamel little glitter hearts, I believe they were, in the yellow. I'm going to put one of those in each cluster, as well as I am going to finish off the layout with some sequins from that Spiegel Mom Scrap sequin pack. I believe it was Sweet Dreams, might have been the collection. And I'm only using the little tiny pink flowers to dot around the layout, which you'll see here in a moment. So once I get those down, that will complete this layout, and there will be still photos at the end for you to see a little bit closer the details of this layout. Be sure, if you haven't already, that you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to be notified when new videos go up on the channel, and be sure to check back every day for the amazing inspiration that's here on the Crafty Maven. And so guys, with that, I will leave you with the still photos, and I will catch you on the next video. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.